can't do it. We'll do it live. We'll do it live. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live. And thing sucks.
Deep fried pixels.
Great, good stuff. I think people are getting really cranked.
Did that work? Hello?
Is this
Are
thing
we
on?
there?
There it is.
I think it is.
Is this thing on?
Hey, congratulations, gentlemen.
Dude, finally doing it here.
Yeah, I think we're finally doing it. First episode of Deep Fried Pixels. Congratulations.
Yeah.
I guess we get started by introducing ourselves and letting everybody know how we got here. I guess I don't know.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, it's not. We've done this 100 times, but yeah.
Yeah, like this whole thing. We've done it. What 26 times, 27? I don't know how many times we've tried to do a podcast and it just never quite. I can't listen to my own voice. I'm sorry, and I can't get them edited. It's just a horrible, nightmarish thing to do. And yeah, we decided just to kind of go live. We're just a bunch of friends that get together, I guess, on a Friday night, and after a long week of making visual effects and kind of shoot the shit. And wait, can I say shit? Yeah, I think I did 18 and over. I think we can say shit. We can say all the George Carlin words, I believe.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know. I don't know how that works.
Maybe.
We don't know how this works. So you're along for the journey. And I'm Bryan Haines. I've been a visual effects artist for 20 damn years now, and nomad traveler for a while, and yeah, like again, something I've always wanted to do was a little bit of a podcast or something. So we found ourselves here talking about a bunch of bullshit, I guess, and a little bit of visual effects, and we thought it was pretty cool. Decided to record it and go live, and here we are. So I don't know. Somebody else talk.
I'll go next, I guess. I'm Brandon Young. I'm a VFX artist. I'm a cowboy. I'm what you call a hobo. I used to ride train carts. Me and Josh used to ride some train carts across the country. Yeah, I'm a CG guy mostly. I met Bryan, working with Bryan at Crafty. Met Zach many years ago at Scanline, and met Josh at Crafty too. But I've been doing this for, I don't know, about 17 years, I guess, or something. Yeah, I guess that's about it. But yeah, just mostly 3D, and yeah, that's my intro.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm Zach Mandt. I don't even know where to start, man. It was back in the early 2000s. I got into this stuff.
I was waiting for some shit like in Da Nang and 72.
You weren't even there.
You weren't there, man. You don't know.
Yeah, I got my start in the early 2000s. Spent a little time in Minnesota at first, in Minneapolis, kicking around some of the smaller shops there, and then moved out to Los Angeles and started my career. My first place I ever worked at was Cafe Effects, RIP. These guys were awesome crew. And then I finally bit the bullet and made the big move down to LA. Started kicking around all the shops down there. Where, as Brandon mentioned, I met Brandon at Scanline on the feature film 2012. The masterpiece saga, the end of the world. So
did you guys destroy some buildings? Did y'all destroy buildings together?
No, we didn't do the buildings. We had our sequence was the what do they call it? The arc sequence.
The saddle.
Big. Yeah, the saddle. There's everybody's on the ships, and then the big wave comes and crashes over the mountains in the Himalayas. We worked on all that stuff.
Yeah, we were doing all the matte paintings and shit. So
yeah, it was a wild time. That was not to cut in too deep to this, but I made more friends that I still talk to on that job than anywhere else that I worked in that entire industry.
Yeah,
throughout the years, like solid.
Dude, it's crazy, right? It was like an all-star group.
Yeah, that was it. We literally had like an A team, like of visual effects artists. I was probably the crappiest artist that they had hired at that place. The worst attitude of anybody for sure.
Yeah, bro.
But yeah, man, it's just been kept the ball rolling, and And here I am. Now I can never be found without a pocket copy of the U.S. Constitution.
If anybody knows me, knows one thing about me.
Always cross-reference that sucker.
Yeah.
Always have it close by. He is our technical reference. Joshua Stevens, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, sir?
Yeah, maybe about 13, 14 years in visual effects. Started more on the production side. It was like a PA, and then met a VFX crew that kind of gave me a shot, and then kind of came up on the set side. Moved to the post house, started PA.
Your audio went out there, Josh.
What's that?
There you are.
Going out there for a second.
Oh, my audio was going out?
Yeah.
Oh,
was there, Josh.
Is it still there?
Yeah, you go back.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah, just started Pixelamundo, and then ended up going over and working at Crafty Apes, where I met Brandon and Brian. And actually, I think for like a very short time, you did a stint over there, Zach, and we kind of crossed paths in like a very short moment there.
Okay.
Crafty.
Yeah.
Our little LA office.
Yeah, when it was still in Culver City there.
Yeah.
Yep.
But other than that, that's about it for me.
Yep. Yeah, it was interesting times when we were at Crafty for sure. Like in those early days in that little office on Castleberry Hill.
Yeah,
That was the least interviewee place I've ever worked, right? Like I don't think not one of us got interviewed to work there. I don't think.
Nah. Yeah, it was just like, hey, Chris was like, hey, open an office in Atlanta. Why don't you want to come out and help me? Yeah, sure. All right, let's go.
Right. Yeah, I got the offer. I got the offer to go out to Atlanta at one point, and I don't remember why I said I declined, but I think it was something to do with my kid. My kid was on the way, and we weren't sure like what we were gonna do. And man, I mean, looking back, I kind of wish that I would have bounced out there, because I think it would have been a different trajectory. Like I ended up in Colorado for the time being. But I think that we would have all had some very wild times together.
Yeah, it would have been a different. It would have been pretty crazy if you were there.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah, it was the Wild West. That was for sure. I mean, we were kind of there in Atlanta, right at the. I mean, I guess it was.
Yeah, then no one else was there.
Pop off, of all the production there. It was pretty crazy. It was right there too when North Carolina ended up sunsetting their their rebates or whatever. So like all of that came to Atlanta, and it got crazy so fast.
Because that's when we did Constantine, right?
Yeah,
because Kevin brought Constantine to us, the TV show. I remember. Yeah, we worked on all that. But yeah, that was pretty crazy. That, and then there was another one, right? What was the other show that had the Sleepy Hollow?
Oh,
we had a lot of
Sleepy
Sleepy Hollow.
Yeah, Sleepy Hollow. Yeah,
That was the one that actually came from North Carolina. They did all the production in North Carolina. In Oregon,
oh, that's right. It wasn't. That's right. It wasn't Constantine. Constantine was done in Atlanta, right?
Yeah, Constantine was done in Atlanta.
Yeah, because Josh was on set for that, right?
Well, they ended up moving all the stuff from Sleepy Hollow. I guess they were doing it there in Wilmington and moved it to Atlanta. But yeah, it was a crazy time. It was like the Wild West.
Were you guys out there for COVID?
Yeah,
I was. Yeah,
I wasn't.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
I just missed. I moved out of LA, and then COVID happened like almost like within a year.
Literally like 6 months ago, finished off my COVID toilet paper.
Oh man!
Yeah, because I fear bought. Yeah, I completely fear bought off of Amazon and ordered like this massive like crate. Like it wasn't a case; it was like hundreds of rolls, right? And so like we finally. Well, I have the last roll, and I have I want to get it bronzed. I don't know if you can bronze a toilet paper roll.
Absolutely.
Can you?
Sure, why not?
You know for certain you can bronze.
You can bronze anything. Most places will turn you away if you bring a live baby or any type of live animal, but if you poke around enough,
you can bronze anything.
Yeah.
This is where we start Zach's corner. Can you bronze it?
You just gotta ask. The thing is, you gotta ask the right questions. Right?
Is that what it is?
You gotta know the keywords. You gotta get down into the bronzing underground.
And then really listen. You gotta really listen.
Right.
There's some rockin' tours there that'll weave a tale, huh?
Yeah. Trying to bronze a 68 Hemi Cuda.
Hey, have you ever met an old bronzer? Have you ever met an old bronzer?
No, I haven't.
No, I haven't. No.
Exactly.
No, Yeah, they're a hard act to follow, man.
Yeah, well,
Little
I think at
bruisers.
some point you breathe enough of those fumes, you just run off in the woods.
Hell yeah.
What a way to go. Yeah, that's beautiful. Like, to hell with getting
Hey.
put out to pasture.
Hey, AI's not taking a bronzer's job, all right? I'll tell you that.
That's right. the Bronze Union kicked AI out. Years ago.
Hey, look,
Bronzers.
guys, let's not piss off Big Bronze on our very first podcast. Okay? We don't need those guys after us.
That's right. Gonna knock at the door at 5 a.m.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Everybody knows bronzers don't knock.
They don't they just fucking show up with a
They
bucket
just
of bronze.
crash through your window and bronze you.
Just a bunch of bronze baby shoes left at your doorstep knowing
And they-
that they're
yeah.
there.
Doink the bronzer.
Yeah, to
Don't like the
conceal.
bronzer.
They all just talk with horrible accents on purpose.
Damn it, doink.
Doink in his bucket of bronze. R.I.P. Doink.
All
For
right.
anybody out there that's a Doink fan.
The doink.
Oh, you
Doink.
talking about big doinks in Amish? Big King Dave? You talking about King Dave?
King Dave, yeah, over.
I'm gonna have to ask some questions now.
Oh man,
I need you to tell me all about this.
my son never soiled his diaper. He only had big doinks.
So stupid. Full dad joke. Here we go. We're going full dad joke.
That was
mode.
going.
We were a big doinks house, man, all day long.
Yeah, I mean, it happens.
Yeah, well, for anybody that doesn't know King Dave, if you just search big doinks on Google, you'll find the
Well,
light.
be careful with that search.
He's not with us anymore. But
Be real fucking careful. with
Just
that
real
search.
careful.
I mean, just a slight movement
Hell no.
of your fingers.
Safe-
slipping up.
safe search off.
Use incognito.
Use Siri. See what autocorrect do. Have at it.
Ask Alexa about it. See what comes up.
Operators. Operators are standing by.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, speaking of COVID toilet paper, I actually had made the switch to a bidet because I'm a lazy pile of shit.
I did too. We did that at the last house during COVID. We bought the bidet, but then we moved. I want it back. I want it
At a
back.
certain point during COVID, I got up on my roof and just looked down my nose at everybody, and I was like, "Poopy bottom peasants."
Well, that's part of one of the reason it took so long to use the toilet paper because I ordered both at the same time, and it was like, of course, the toilet paper went on back order, and I didn't receive it for like months later, right? And
Right.
by that time, it had corrected itself. But I got the bidet pretty easily, the conversion thing, and did all that. It worked great, and we moved away from there. And now I miss my bidet.
Yeah, man, going through COVID and just making like a trip to Costco literally left me in the throes of like questioning if I become a prepper or not. Because I'm like,
Dude,
if it gets this bad and people start flipping out, buying up all the toilet paper, like what if the power went out for a month?
Dude, container sales went through the roof. I can tell
We're
you
like,
that.
yeah, we're like, what do they say? Four hot meals away from like absolute pandemonium
Yeah.
or something like that. Like one Walking Dead rerun away from.
Luckily, when it all hit, we had a big chest freezer in the garage that we had just started trying to do the whole Costco or Sam's Club. I think we were doing Costco, and we were just trying to do that, right? So of course we were overbuying already because we went in there and just bought tons of stuff. So we were only like 2 or 3 Costco trips deep once the pandemic hit. So that means our freezer was full, like it was almost completely full, and it was like we accidentally were like prepared.
Accidental prepper.
Yeah, we're accidental prepper. Yeah, exactly.
Accidental prepper, yeah. You gotta be prepared. Always be prepared.
It's the Boy Scouts motto: be prepared.
The 3 fingers?
Yeah, 3 fingers, right?
Yeah.
Huh.
They were
Were you a
way
Boy
ahead.
Scout, Stevens?
Way ahead
You
of
strike
their
me as a Boy Scout.
Yeah.
Of course
I was
you
a
were.
bad one though.
Why were you a bad one? What made you a bad Boy Scout?
I didn't do I just went for the camping trips and shooting bows and arrows and BB guns. Like,
You didn't give a damn about patches?
yeah, my scout leader called me a blank slate. I had no badges.
Just fucking you're ready to be molded into Boy
Damn.
Scout.
I had no badges.
He
I
didn't
think-
do nothing weird, no touching, nothing.
You
like
just want to
Is that guy still around? Is that guy still around?
He might be.
We should find him.
Yeah, he
Go-
wasn't super
like,
old.
you could-
He was only in his 50s then. So
We'll come with you. We'll just stand behind you and just make uninterrupted eye contact with him.
I'm just gonna
And you could be
Google
like,
Where's
you'd be
my
like, yeah.
badge?
When I was a kid, you said I was a blank slate. Well, look at me now, motherfucker.
look at me now.
I've worked on several
Still
Tyler
blank.
Perry's.
Yeah,
feature
or just play
films.
that. What's that country song? The How Do You Like Me Now?
Yeah.
We just stare him and just sit there. Yeah, just sit there and tap your foot and play that, and then we just leave without saying shit.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
Just
laugh, belly laugh at inappropriate times.
Just let Toby Keith do the talking.
Yeah.
That's right. You'd be Toby Keith. You'd be our Toby.
Yeah, cue him up. Cue up Toby.
Toby.
Steven's got something to say.
Come on.
Blank
Come on
slate.
now.
Spit on the ground next to him. Son of a bitch. Blank slate.
Flick out an old, like a Boy Scout style pocket knife,
Yeah.
like a little Swiss Army knife.
I've met, being an adult man, like I've met so many people who are like, yeah, I got my eagle and I didn't want to, but my parents made me do it and I'm so glad they did. And it just left me feeling like completely cheated.
Really?
Then I got to carry that weight around with me for the rest of my life that I never got my eagle.
Can you go back? Is it like
No.
you
No.
can't like once you
Not
reach
without-
out, you're out.
Jesus,
you can't,
dude.
Not
no.
without being real weird.
Yeah. Fucking real weird.
I don't mean in your
Well, I guess you
40s.
could say
I don't mean in your
Grown
40s. I
man.
meant like even if you're like
no,
Somewhere, you know what, Brian? Somewhere in Europe, yes. Somewhere in Europe, you can go ahead and be like, yep, I'm signing up here as kinder gender and I want to get my eagle before I turn 19.
Yeah, kinder ginger. Yeah, I'm mentally, I don't know, 16 or something.
Yeah.
14.
Don't let
whatever.
the-
16.
Don't let the beard throw you off.
I just matured real quick. I got,
I'm
I
all
just,
13.
I
I'm
promise
just,
you, I can't tie
just
knots.
discovering myself right now.
Yeah, I
you
can
know?
barely read. Shit, I'm making it barely. Come on.
barely read.
I needed help getting here.
Like they should do like a night school type thing for Boy Scouts. Boy Scouts for men.
Fucking Boat
Boy
Tech for
Scout
fucking Eagle
dropouts.
Scouts.
That's a pretty good, actually. That's a pretty good premise for a movie.
That's
Yeah.
the scrolls
Boy,
down. It's like
Boy Scout
Eagle
dropouts. Yeah, you're a bunch of
Yeah.
old Boy Scout dropouts that you want to be a Boy Scout, but you just kind of something happened and you missed the boat. Like you did something dumb and got kicked out, but like your life's dream to be a Boy Scout, so you just continue on with your troop of men scouts. I don't know.
I think.
Scouts.
I feel like
I wonder, man. There's like I think people like hoarders and collectors are who those people are.
yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
right?
even to
Yeah,
be a scout leader, like I'm not to talk bad about any kind of scout leaders, but don't they make the scout leaders wear those little shorts and the little outfit and everything too? Like if I remember
They wear the
correctly,
shirt.
like-
It was a different time back then. Before like
it was a different
tan-
time.
before the scout leader uniform was like a tan mesh.
You
tank
know what I'm
top
talking
and a
about? Where it's just like
Daisy Duke shorts.
you're like an inch and a half from glory. They're that long,
Yeah.
you know.
You gotta have those briefs on. You can't wear boxers with those suckers. Something will slip out.
Oh no, no.
Hey.
Bumblebee tuna.
you can you get your indecent exposure merit badge.
It's just a naked clown from the behind running. It's like,
Well,
what?
look, man, if you're out in the bush, who wants to risk snagging your sack on some fucking some
briar.
fucking poison oak anyhow, man? Right?
Hell yeah.
You gotta gird
Yeah.
your loin.
I don't
Yeah,
care.
Get the Lieutenant Dangle shorts.
You got like the Uncle Rico dude who's like way too old to be everybody. Who's like, I think I misunderstood something, man. I saw bushcraft and I was all in, and I think we got our lines crossed here somewhere. 'Cause all I see is little dudes everywhere.
This is never what I meant to do.
Hell yeah. Sir, your balls are showing. Bumblebee tuna. That's all I keep thinking about.
Oh, look,
That's
I'm
for
just
sure.
my yams, man. I'm getting my yams
My
out in
yams.
nature.
Well, I knew it. Okay, this is. I don't know if it's going to be an appropriate story, but there was this guy when I was growing up. There was this guy named Larry Joe, and he'd always sit out by the pool with his red velvet like a robe on, right? And he'd put his scrotum, his balls up on this little pillow, right? And he'd do it outside out in front of everybody, right? And so they had to keep kicking him out. And he just kept telling everybody that it was good for him. And that's the only way he could get proper
Good for
sun.
him.
Yeah, I guess he had traction at one point. He had those holes in his head, and we always
God.
thought horns came out because he's a devil. Because he kind of looked like a devil kind of guy. He had like a little mustache and stuff.
Okay.
But yeah, Larry Joe, man, that guy was he's a weird dude.
I just imagine him sitting there with his balls out on like a little like TV dinner tray because he couldn't like make the little sun reflector.
Sun in his
Just a
He's
little
just like,
box.
I gotta get like, what are you doing, man?
Some
Oh, I'm just
mirrored
trying
box.
I'm just trying to get cleaned up. Just trying to get cleaned up, looking dapper, man. I got
Ah.
my driver's license picture next week.
Hey man, listen, I ain't getting the vitamin D like I can without
What a
this.
terrible sunburn. Terrible sunburn.
Yeah. Trying to I read somewhere
that
if I do
thing,
this.
that thing looked like a fucking tobacco pouch. It was like just beaten up and
I was
brown
reading-
and it was something
reading-
else, dude.
I was reading in
Sunbaked.
better. I was reading in Better Homes and Gardens that if I do this and drink my own piss every day, I increase the testosterone.
It's like the backside of a potato skin.
Oh God,
God damn,
the,
dude.
the rejected Keebler elf.
It just fucking burnt up and shit. He was at a tree fire a few moons ago, and he just really beat up about it.
Oh,
Ah.
God. What a
Welcome
time.
to Deep Fried Pixels, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
This is pretty much the gist of it, I guess. Huh?
Oh yeah, I mean, we'll sprinkle some VFX in here pretty soon. If you guys will stay with us.
Yeah. just,
Speaking of yam bags, Bob Iger succeeded in not being the CEO of Disney anymore.
Oh, is
did he
not?
really? I didn't even see
Yeah,
that.
some guy, I can't remember who's the guy's name was, but Disney's looking for a successor to Bob Iger.
Yeah,
And
I heard about
they
that.
had some guy on the line who had like zero experience.
Of course.
And of course, the internet was up in arms because he at some point asked, and I don't have the context for it. I just saw the headline, somebody screaming about it, where he was like, "Do we really need an all-black cast for the Black Panther movie?" Or something. It was something like that. I'm probably murdering the headline, but naturally, the internet lost its collective mind over that one. So hey, Disney dodged a bullet on that. on that account. Or something.
Did they?
I don't know, man. I feel like I feel like Disney has so much money that it doesn't even matter. Like the governor of Florida was like, "We're kicking Disney out," and Disney's like, "You're not invited to our birthday party either." And like they took a beating and it didn't even flinch. Like I don't think it really like. I mean,
love or hate Iger, man. Like, look at his look at when he took over into what it is now. I mean, it's not like you could say he was a failure.
Yeah,
No,
I mean,
not at all.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is how do you really measure success or failure of a company of an institution that big, right?
Yeah.
Like Disney is not like it's not like anything else. You know, people get married. You have full on adults who are like, I'm on my 5th marriage, and every wedding I've had has been a Disney themed wedding.
Every marriage I've had.
There's a running theme of failure there.
They enjoyed every goddamn minute. Dude.
Right? Like
They're apprentices to me.
and they get right, yeah. And
Disney. You're gonna run Small World, and you're gonna like it.
Disney is a wild thing, man. It is a wild, crazy enigma. And like now that they've been put in the crosshairs of people being like, "You're grooming kids," and all sorts of like, just like the wild accusations flying, and they're just like embroiled in all that kind of stuff. And then there's like the activism part of like the stories that they're releasing and everything compared to like Bambi, right, or Dumbo or anything. Like they've been like this crazy company the entire time, but it's usually always been in retrospect, like, oh, I can't believe that's what it was, but it was like that's what everybody thought back then. That was normal and milquetoast for the time. Like there was nothing to it, and of course you're gonna look back and be like, holy crap. But now it's like they're doing it real time now, and I'm just kind of like watching them do an old man slow fall is what it feels like.
I don't
Which
know,
I
man.
did-
It's still
I did my
everything
first
they
old
touch
man's-
seems to be turning to gold still. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
All
Right,
the
because
remakes
you
make
have-
a shit ton of money. So.
Because you have a built-in user base of people, built-in market of people who are like, you could sacrifice a kid in the middle of that park and people would be mad as shit about it for like 14 hours and then be right back there in line for Thunder Mountain again.
Like
Just being like, I cannot believe they sacrificed that little boy in the middle of the park. Can you fucking believe it? Oh, no, we're up next. Cool. I'm so glad we got the front part. Just
my wife and I were talking about a friend of hers that went, I guess just recently went to Disney. And we were just talking about how expensive it is, right? Like, and I was just like, gosh, it's so expensive. But then I kind of took a step back for a second. I'm like, when has anybody ever said, you know what, Disney's really affordable? Like, it's never been that way. Not even since the 70s. Like, it's never been that way. It's always been kind of a privilege to take your family to Disney. It's kind of, they always have it just a little bit obtainable. Yeah, they always add to the prices. But, I mean, even when I lived in Orlando, I guess, 10 years ago more, like, I don't know, 15 years, 20 years ago. I lived there 20 years ago. And it was even then it was like $100 and something just to go for the day, which seemed like it was ridiculous. Of course, if you lived there, you got like you could sign up for a pass. If you had a driver's license from nearby, you could get a discounted pass just to go whenever. But yeah, like it was, I often wondered like how people come down there and like how you spend a whole week and it's insane how much money they just rake in.
Hand over fist.
Yeah.
Hand over fist. There. Yeah. Well, again, it's an entire generation of people, and now they bought Star Wars. It's only a matter of time before they engulf like things like Lego or whatever else. They own the Marvel universe now. They got some. Don't they own the rights to Deadpool now? Like, isn't that Deadpool?
It's Marvel, but I don't know. I mean,
isn't that
I think it's some sort of like.
I thought
Disney
Ryan Reynolds actually owned those rights or something. There was some kind of weird thing there.
It's something weird because I know they can't use the X-Men necessarily, all of them or something. Because that's why it's always the joke in the movies, right? Like we can't afford the X-Men, all the X-Men. Like
there's a weird thing there with Deadpool. I think if I remember correctly, and please don't quote me or no, actually,
we're going to quote the shit.
Come at me, Ryan Reynolds. I'd love that. That'd be great. I'd love to have Ryan Reynolds on the second episode to talk the truth out of this. But I think he has some kind of stake in the actual entity of Deadpool.
Oh, probably. I would imagine it's something.
Yeah, I think he's in. Yeah.
But, well, they certainly struck a deal to stream it on Disney Plus.
So yeah, it's probably something to do with the overall like umbrella of it all, right? So I don't know.
Because in the Super Bowl trailer, he did say something to the effect of "Pegging isn't new for me, friendo, but it is for Disney."
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I think he actually owns the rights to it or something. You know what? I wish I had a device where I could collaborate my own information
like
instead
an
of
iPad or
speculating. I like to wildly speculate. What do you?
I want to see Deadpool fight South Park's version of Mickey Mouse.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
That'd be fucked up, right?
Hey. It's all really mean. Don't cross the mouth.
What's up, Tanner Bartlett in the chat? I see somebody in the live chat.
Yeah.
Just noticed.
That's why we got some actual viewers.
Check that too. Yeah, hey, check that out.
Look at
that. Welcome, everybody. Welcome.
Did you guys get to watch Godzilla -1 yet?
I did not.
Yeah, I haven't seen it either, but I thought it was kind of interesting, like the whole because they won the Oscar for the visual effects, which is kind of interesting because they were good, right? For the team, it's like 35
Where do you watch it? Where can you actually watch it?
Well, you can watch it in the theater, and then it'll probably be streaming soon. I think. I'd imagine.
Oh, I thought it was already streaming.
It might be. I don't know. I'm probably need to check it out, but. Yeah, it was kind of interesting because like everyone, there was a lot of talk I know around some people I was talking with, but like, oh well, Guardians of the Galaxy was better, as far as visual effects goes, and it kind of brought up the debate of the novelty of something new, whether it's something new, because we've all seen Marvel stuff, right? And Guardians of the Galaxy's last one, the visual effects were really good in it. But the idea of the marketing behind something like Godzilla being, 35 total people that worked on the visual effects with only a $50 million budget, that marketing behind that kind of helped drive them to win an Oscar because of that. So it's not really on the merit. Well, it probably was on the merit of the good visual effects, but also like, holy shit, this was really done by, a very small team. And also I think there's an issue with that coming into Hollywood saying like, oh, well, look, we can do this for this. It's like, nah, like you can do that in Japan because of Japanese and the way Japanese people work and the way they have their studio set up. That works for them, and I could see this happening is like, us getting into a project and someone coming up saying, well, so and so does, because they had a tight ship. They had, they did rounds every day. They were there, like, they were very integrated into all this stuff. And not to kick on Japanese people, but those guys have insane work ethics. You know what I mean? Like, they're crazy. Like, they work a lot, and they're very diligent people. And I think a lot of people in the U.S. don't really understand that so much. But
to play contrarian.
Yeah.
We also deal with a Hollywood that will have a VFX heavy movie and say it has no visual effects in it.
Yeah.
How much do we really believe that 35 people completely made this from one end to the other, from nuts to bolts, right?
Oh, well, visual
they didn't
effects wise,
outsource any roto. They didn't outsource anything. They all 35 of them worked on the entire thing from nuts to bolts.
See, that's a problem.
If that's true, I don't want to take anything away from those people by saying that. I'm not trying to start a controversy or anything. If that is amazing, I think the whole thing's amazing. But I'm also dealing with a Hollywood that will lie to my face.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean,
not even give me as the visual effects artist the credit that I deserve on working on a movie where they're like, hey, now I personally haven't worked on a movie that has denied it had visual effects, but we all know that happens.
Yeah. Oh, I have.
Have you?
Oh yeah, quite a few now.
Really?
I even got into it. Well, I'm not really at liberty to discuss it openly and freely, but I will
NDAs,
say
watch out, everybody.
At one, that's right. At one point, I was actually let go for a time from where I was working because of a goofy little misunderstanding that happened with me backing up some breakdown shots that never happened, and thinking that they had been marked private.
I remember this.
And I marked it I caught it, marked it private, but somebody else saw it who had it out for me, and they flagged the people up above me.
Yeah.
Because I'm the kind of person that makes enemies in one way or another. I don't mean to. It's just who I am.
Accidental enemy maker.
Yeah. I don't want to make enemies, but when I do make an enemy, I kind of love it. Like, it's kind of fun.
You relish it for sure.
I do. I
I
enjoy having that adversarial,
I think probably all three of us have had one, but I cannot imagine Stevens has had an enemy.
No, Stevens never had an enemy in his life. He's a very accommodating hobo.
It's called the U.S. government.
Get him, Stevens.
Get him.
We talked about this, guys. We talked about this.
It's right there. I can't even make it.
It's all in black and white.
I can't even make it 6 pages in without just. I can't even make it 6 pages in. I just get too angry.
What you bring up about Godzilla -1, one thing I find interesting is I feel like that award, the Oscar for visual effects, isn't just for fidelity and quality and quantity. It's if it allowed a film that couldn't do a thing, if it was a tool or a department that either because it let a movie punch above its weight class, do you imagine a movie like Ex Machina, right? Which, I mean, isn't $100,000 movie. It obviously had a couple millions of dollars to make that movie, but what they pulled off at that size, it let them create a world that was as sci-fi immersive as a Star Wars movie. Not that they were in 10 different worlds and stuff like that, but it was up against Star Wars that year, and Star Wars arguably had more impressive visual effects.
Right.
If you're just speaking from a sheer what was accomplished standpoint, but one of the movies that won visual effects one year was Babe.
That was revolutionary, right? At the time.
It was. But if you imagine that movie today, if there was a movie, I don't know, Beverly Hills Chihuahua isn't going to win, right? Which is doing similar stuff to Babe. But if you compared it to Babe, it's just echoing it at a lower level, of quality and accomplishment. But so you couldn't just make Ex Machina tomorrow and hope to be in the runnings for visual effects. It's like you said, it's the novelty. Godzilla -1, the budget that it was at what it accomplished at that budget was incredibly impressive. And it was a movie that if you tried to make Godzilla -1 for that amount of money without visual effects, it would look silly because it'd be a guy in a lizard costume.
I don't know. I was gonna say I don't know. I might love it. I love.
I mean, there's an audience for it, but
That's
I love small Godzilla movies.
The market is
the
out
original
there.
one. Yeah, I mean, you know the story of the original one. It was a satire, like a commentary on the atomic bomb. Like
Right,
the original one is a totally different kind of movie than that's what this new one.
What,
is,
like a
is
newscast segment or something?
No. Like if you
No.
go and watch the original, at the end there's like a soliloquy from like an elder Japanese man on a boat, and he's like essentially talking about nuclear weapons. Like it's
well, because it was a very real fear of of all of the radiation fallout and everything. They were just kind of like coming from a place of we don't know what's next.
yeah.
Who knows? Like they're on one hand it's the actual like the monsters rising up out of the sea, but on the other hand it's the metaphorical, like not only did a monster come across the sea and lay waste to the city, but if they allowed it to fester, like it could also be served the other direction, over time, and come and just unsuspecting people have their cities laid waste. There's a lot of I think it's an interesting. I've always struggled with the American grappling of the concept of Godzilla for that reason alone. I don't necessarily. I think we have our part to play in telling that story, but I think that story is not one.
It's not our story.
It's not one for Americans to tell necessarily.
Yeah.
It's kind of like maybe don't. I don't.
Yeah.
know.
No.
It's
Exactly.
It's in poor taste.
Right,
I'll say that.
Yeah, because it really is just about Godzilla is the nuclear bomb, right? So it's crazy. But yeah, I think the whole novelty of it too, and just like the Academy is probably just like we've seen Marvel stuff. We know that this can be done. It's like Transformers, right? When the first one came out, wow, that was really cool. All this transformation, all this crazy stuff going on, that was cool. But then it got really tiresome pretty quick, got that fatigue, just like all the Marvel stuff is now. And the Marvel stuff is like, and that's what kind of upsets me when I hear like all the bad visual effects. Like, dude, the people that are doing the visual effects, the workers, the artists, man, like they're some of the best in the world. Like they're doing the best they can do. Yeah. At the end of the day, it's the visual effects supervisor and the supervisors that have the final buy off on that look. It's their fault that it doesn't look good. It's not that the workers can't do the work. We can clearly do the work. It's just whether the budget, the bad supervisors or whatever. I always say this is what the supervisors can save more money.
Sometimes
the studios the studio notes or whatever, right?
Visual effects too, on its face, I guess, is not necessarily the most scalable production available to the film production pipeline either, right? Like when you have films like Titanic as an example, somewhere like Digital Domain did the majority of the visual effects for that film, and it looked great. They shot a lot of it in the sound stages and had an active miniatures department, a prop department there, and everything at the time. And they took on all that stuff, and they were well funded enough. And a lot of films throughout the 80s that were, it was still special effects, is what everybody called it. Yeah. And people had a lot internally, they had a lot of ownership and direct connection to the directors and the actual production. And once it started going digital, everybody kind of got forced away from that process. And I think it did a great disservice to the industry to not have the visual effects artists able to connect directly with the director to hear and see their vision. Instead, it was a game of telephone where 5 different people relayed it down by the time it got to you as an artist. And, 9 times out of 10 working at one of those places, you'd be like, so am I just running the latest setup or what? Do I need to do wedges on the direction of this light? Do I need to do wedges on this shader, on the glossiness values of this shader? Or do I, what is the edges chattering here? And they do their best to not make anything subjective to the people working at the desks so that they can run it in that corporate fashion and kind of like elbow out any type of creative endeavor while billing and calling people creatives so that they get tax breaks for it. It's kind of a fucked up situation because, like you pointed out, Brian, there's a lot of films where you work on them, you work crazy hours, you make crazy sacrifices, and then don't even get your credit up there. And meanwhile, somebody who heated up a couple cans of refried beans get their names way above everybody. And it's like, okay, that's fine. I'm not saying I'm not saying
fucking things I've worked on where you can't even get a line on there. Just small little name.
I don't think that. I'm not saying that the people who heat up refried beans for the crew shouldn't be credited.
Yeah,
but how about the people? How about the people that added in some digital refried beans into the actual fucking film?
Hell yeah! The digital refried beans take time. We gotta do a vellum sim or some sort of fluid sim for those things.
Right? You gotta sim them beans. You gotta cook them beans.
Again. Well, you had to fry the beans, and then you have to refry the beans.
That's right.
Yeah. Listen, I got what bean sim? No, the closest thing I've done is, of course, puke. Yeah. So. Puke.
Oh, I remember
lots of puke. I used to do tons of puke. Yeah.
It was like slow motion puke. I remember you doing a bunch of slow motion puke. One time.
For Wimpy Kid.
Yeah, wasn't it like floating through the air? Or something?
Yeah, so they're on the gravitron and the kid.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And it goes around and it goes.
Oh, I forgot about that. That was really cool. They were on the gravitron.
Yeah, I put some chunks and stuff in there. Yeah, I was the pee guy, the puke guy, the blood guy. But yeah, all the bodily fluids, pretty much.
Yeah, man.
Gravitron, one of my favorite things at the fair, but I don't think you could, as an adult, could possibly get me on it.
Man, I went on it 2 years ago.
I know what you want.
Did you really?
Yeah, my wife and I took our son on the Gravitron at like a little tiny.
This is where we're rolling the dice, family. Let's do this now.
Yeah, and I was like, part of me was like, I'm gonna try to stand up until it started going, and then I just like nudged my kid. I was like, try to stand up, and he like sat up, and it just smacked him back into the thing, and I was kind of like, that was funny to me. But nobody barfed. Although I thought somebody was gonna for sure, because some crackhead chick got in on the other side. I'm like, uh-oh. She's either gonna throw up or her panties are gonna fly off or something. Like a tooth is gonna come like
just the dentures.
She's losing a tusk on this one.
Physically, like how would the panties actually come off? They would have to be weighted. They would have to be weighted heavier than.
Clearly, you've never been on the Gravitron with a crackhead.
I had a guy throw up in my mouth on a roller coaster.
Jesus Christ, dude.
I'm so thankful to hear on a roller coaster.
Yeah.
You're just like a baby bird.
How many rows were you? Here's the question: were you behind him or in front of him?
I was behind, and we were like going over it was like Six Flags or something in California, and I was with my friend's family, and we're like going over the thing. We're just like yeah, and so we have our mouths open. And I was like feeling like that.
Oh my God.
And I go,
Jesus, dude.
Is it raining? What's going? And then we look ahead.
Oh, God, dude.
Not a cloud. And we all were just like,
there's no way I wouldn't have had a chain reaction.
Dude, I would have. Yeah, it would have been puke on puke on puke.
That'd have been tough.
Oh,
it was rough.
Yeah. Oh man,
that's rough, dude.
I'm getting tossy. I'm getting the 7 C's in my gut just thinking about it.
Everybody get your bucket.
Yeah.
Normally I charge handsomely for that.
Yeah, we have and we'll have a merch soon. We're gonna have Josh Stevens signed puke buckets.
Puke buckets, yeah. Every time you drink that, Josh, I keep thinking you're drinking a big thing of Jack Daniels.
That's what I just thought too.
Dude, I was like, God, Josh, you got a problem? What's going on here?
It's diluted iced coffee.
Oh, okay. Because it looks just like fucking Jack or something.
I saw it too, and I was like, damn.
I didn't want to say anything, but I was like, I'm not real sure. Can we do that?
Could that be a sponsor?
Is it okay?
Stumptown Cold Brew.
We need to always ask ourselves, does Joe Rogan do it?
Jamie, Google if Joe Rogan does it.
See if Joe Rogan does this thing, Jamie. Come on. Well, Josh was our hidden producer for a long time, so that was a joke that Josh would be fucking up all the time.
Well, we not necessarily Josh. Yes, we had a fake. Since
that's right.
We were just going to name. We were going to always blame all of our fuck ups on our producer Josh.
Our producer, Josh. Yeah,
and just be like he was in the background, fucking off, and producer Josh is he messed it up again. So
I think it's hilarious.
Yeah,
as is the custom.
Yeah, but here he is, an unofficial member.
Yep.
But,
yeah, man. I know it's been pretty nuts on LinkedIn lately. Just bloodbath, man.
I
Like
mean,
I just
it
never.
it brings the dogs out.
Dude, it's like when I see someone post. Well, of course, now all the jobs are overseas. Most of them, at least all the ones I'm seeing that were being posted, like it's like Montreal or like wherever else, right? That people will respond. I mean, it's crazy. They'll go on to, which they should. People are looking for jobs, but man, I've never seen this sort of outage of work of people ever in my career. Like it's depressing and sad because I know so many people that are good artists and good people that are out of work. It's crazy. I know we talked about this before in our other stuff, but I thought I'd bring it up now because I know it's probably on everyone's minds, and just let everyone know that they're not alone, that we're all going through this together, and it sucks, So
yeah.
Well,
God bless the beautiful souls that decide to burn their career down by getting on there and just completely bad mouthing,
dude.
Everything about the process of trying to find a job. Like there are definitely some people that are being a little transparent, which I appreciate the transparency, but I'm not real sure that's going to translate into the monetary
Dude, I know this one guy
investment that they're looking for.
Woo. Man, I'm just like, shut up, dude. Just get away from the computer, unwire it because he just like no one's gonna hire this guy. There's a few of them actually, but man, it's just like chill out.
It's like I got a buddy of mine on Facebook that pretty much he uses Facebook as his complete like therapy, I think, and will put everything out there and like his whole dating life. He just puts everything out there about how he constantly can't find a woman and this and that and the other, and like he puts everything out there. And I'm thinking like, come on, man, like do not.
People treat it like they're screaming into the void, and it is.
It is not. It is
it's
not.
It's not the void, man. It's all being recorded, like it's and it's all being stacked up and sorted through, and there's a profile being built on each and every one of us.
I mean, look, go right ahead and build one on me, whoever. I'm boring.
You say
I
that.
got a profile of you right here. Actually, I got my own AI. It's called Papa Bear Bryan AI. Whenever I get upset, I just type to it.
It just goes. That's all it does. It's just motorboats.
Just like there it is. Here's the Constitution.
Build. You know what? Build a profile on this, huh?
Yeah, see what you can do there.
Yeah,
What's it got to say? What's it got to say about that?
Zach's going to be our official moral police. Anytime any of us gets out of pocket in our actions, he's just going to hold up the Constitution, just silently, so that we all just kind of just know. Again, you're all along on the ride for this, folks. We're all new. We don't know what we're doing. Hopefully, this is actually on YouTube. It'd be really great if it actually made it there. I think it is.
Well, I think we got a couple comments here. So we got a few.
Roll Tide.
We're not just talking into the ether like we usually do.
I don't think so.
Hi, Mom.
I think we can all say hi back. I'm gonna try and see if we can reach out there. Hi, Tanner.
Get in now. Get in now. Well, we can actually.
If you're still listening, this is for you. This whole thing, we're doing it for you, Tanner. You're our only fan. You and my wife, Natasha. I coaxed her into watching this.
I don't know who Tanner Bartlett is, but growing up, we'd go to Wisconsin Dells every once in a while in Wisconsin there, and there's a show called the Tommy Bartlett Water Show. And
well, it would be crazy if it's Tanner's dad.
I was gonna say I don't think it's likely that Tanner is related, but if he is, I just love your relative's water show. And it's not like the kind of water show you get in Bangkok. It's actual guys getting towed behind a speedboat.
Like the pyramid where they all
yeah. Where there's like a bunch of people stacked up, the kind of stuff you'd see on old postcards, like greetings from Baraboo.
Why do they even bring that back at all? Like it must have been that dangerous. Like we haven't even seen any recreation of that whatsoever.
Oh, I think they still do it there.
No,
and well,
somewhere.
My family lineage. I've been working on my dad my dad's side of the family, and a few generations back, there was my relatives ran a monkey show in
Poor Zach.
in
Why wouldn't
Baraboo,
they?
Wisconsin.
I knew something was coming.
Of course, they ran a monkey show of some sort.
Is
What did
anybody surprised?
What did these
Really?
monkeys do?
Yeah. They got on to Deep Fried Pixels podcast.
Hey. What was a monkey show?
It was a monkey show. Well, see, next time I'm back, I'm actually going to go there and see tour. Like some of the stuff is in the museum. There's like a museum that has information on it, and so
There's a monkey show museum.
no,
in Minnesota. There's a monkey show museum in Minnesota. It sounds like a beginning of a song.
This is in Wisconsin. It's in Baraboo, Wisconsin.
There's a monkey show museum in Minnesota.
There's a place in Wisconsin called
Brian.
the Wisconsin that's referred to as the Dells, Wisconsin Dells. It's like a series of water parks and all sorts of tours and just tourism. And it's a really cool place. You'd never expect it to be there, hiding out in the middle of meth country. But there it is.
There it is.
That's kind of where those places are, aren't they?
It's kind of like the Waffle House in where's that at, Brian? The original Waffle House. It's over in
in Decatur, Georgia.
Decatur, yeah. But that's not meth country. It's all right. It's shut down. I remember that. I tell you, like reserve.
Well, it's not shut down. It's like you have to have. It's only open like certain times. It's like a museum now, I guess. But they have another Waffle House across the street from it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Which one of the greatest things about Atlanta? They have the Waffle House food truck.
Yeah,
That's pretty amazing.
it's pretty neat. Pretty fun fact there.
We would love to be sponsored by the Waffle House food truck. By the way, if that comes out.
Zach fact checked me on this, but when you were talking about Titanic, but if I remember correctly, the very last traditional matte painting was on Titanic.
I think so.
The very where it's ship going off to sea.
Like painted on glass.
Yeah, paint on glass. Yeah,
That may be right. I know one person. I know one or two people that could put the button on that one and say for sure.
those guys, man. I remember just Alfred Whitlock.
Alfred Whitlock, yeah.
Dude, there's a story of him doing a painting in like what was it, 6 hours for a Sean Connery movie. I forget what movie it was, but yeah, he did like 6 hours. And dude, it's just incredible. Like those guys, it was just because I used to love, reading about matte painting and stuff. It was just incredible what they would do on set, or they would take the paintings home too, or they'd have pictures and stuff they would paint from. But yeah, dude, that's like what was it, Die Hard 2, the airport scene with the plane. That's all matte painting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. I think I've seen it. Wait a minute. Isn't that? I think I've seen that somewhere. Like I think is it like I don't remember. Like I think maybe like at a Planet Hollywood or something.
That'd be cool. I've always wanted to own a real matte painting. I think that'd be fucking sweet. That hanging up.
I came close to. Well, I bid on a couple. I don't know if I came close to actually getting them or not. Yeah. But they'd have those auctions of old stuff.
Yeah.
I remember old stuff. A lot of that old stuff, they would just wipe that shit off and make another one on it, right?
Yeah, yeah. But there was some. I remember at the when they had the Kubrick exhibit in LA there, and then there was a bunch of actual matte paintings that they had displayed. One from like Spartacus and some other stuff, and that was just like so wild because you stick your nose up in it and you're like, man, these guys actually they painted a lot of details.
Yeah,
like wherever the action was, and then off to the sides, it was just like
scribbles.
Oh, it's super shitty. Yeah.
Oh, that's what we also did on 2012. We would scribble in shit because we would have everything would be we'd paint it like 4 or 6K, and then we would downsize it and put it back there, and then it would just do. Yeah. So about this, well, there's a story about that. Where we were working at, we couldn't for the longest time we couldn't bring any of our photo reference in.
Yeah.
Right. So me and
couldn't
Zach
get it into the pipeline. Like couldn't get it on your computer.
They wouldn't. Yeah, they wouldn't. There was this whole thing about it. We had no internet or anything, so we had our iPhones up of fucking reference, and so we would be painting in Photoshop reference of mountains and stuff, and then we put it back there. Right. It was crazy.
And we're talking about an iPhone 3 probably back then too, right? Like a very small.
It was when the Nano had just come out.
That's right. The Nano. Yes. The Nano. Yeah. The Nano came out. Yeah.
Do you remember?
I remember. Yes.
But pleather had already been out for quite a while.
Right. Oh, succulent pleather. But yeah, that was wild. We did as many matte paintings as we did with doing that.
by hand. And then and then we were integrating, and like we had external vendors that were doing stuff that we were getting, and they were bringing it in and asking us to make changes to the files, the matte paintings that external vendors had been doing, piecing together like JPEGs off the internet. Dude, like 5K, like 512 by 720 JPEGs off of somebody's Mavic 2, like, and then being told like, this looks too soft, and I'm just like, okay, you guys wonder why I have a really bad attitude right now. And this is
yeah, I remember this one matte painting we got in and we had to fix, and it was just, dude, it was of the saddle. I'll never forget, because you flipped out because we could see you were like, dude, you gotta come see this. I'm like,
was
what?
The artifacting.
And it was artifacting. Then the clear just copy stamping.
Yeah,
like it was like, and it wasn't like, it'd be fine if it was off to the side, but it was in the hero areas, so you could see like literally just a giant fucking copy stamp brush and just went copy stamp, copy stamp, and I was like, oh my god, we gotta like repaint all of that.
Well, I don't think I would have been as mad as if I would have been able to like have access to my photos. Like the thing is, they wouldn't let me bring in my photos like on my drive that I had and use them at my desk locally. Yeah. They were like, we want to have your entire, like, they were like, you give us the drive and we'll copy everything on the drive over. And I was like, no, that's my stuff that I spent money to go take photos of, and you're not going to take it and use it for future things and have that available to you. No, that's, you can have the final matte painting, but I'm not going to give you my reference library. Are you smoking crack? That's like, at the time it was like,
my precious.
It was like 700 gigs of my own photos at the time. Yeah. I was just like, get out of here, man. You're bananas.
Yeah, they finally let us download some reference and get it in there. They like to open up a pipe or something where we could grab some reference and stuff to finish out all the stuff. But yeah, it was pretty wild, dude. And I remember like doing the we'd have the projections and stuff, and so the way they would do the sims then was with Flowline, and I mean, so our projections had to line up with their crappy like geometry that they had at the time. Dude, it was so crazy. Like I ended up building this tool and stuff in Max to emulate Cinema 4Ds. Remember that?
Yeah, projection, man.
Yeah, projection. Yeah, and
it was
the Raleigh cam is what
something Raleigh. Yeah, Raleigh cam. Yeah, it was nice because it did it all. It would do it all and transfer things between gimbal and local space. Sorry, that was.
I wish I could tell that story. I wish I could tell that story behind that, but I know you get in trouble. So we'll
just have a chuckle at it at that
chuckle that all day. But yeah, it was pretty crazy times back then. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the whole time in the late 2000s, man, it was a crazy time for sure in VFX. It was the golden age, right? Really, for us. It was just so much work, and
well, that was right at the switch over from HD. What was that in like 2008?
Yeah, I remember going to HD. I remember going from 720 to 1080.
And
I remember rendering. Yeah, it was crazy. I remember rendering something in 2K once, and I was like, "We'll never finish this.
Yeah,
this is insane. This is 2K. We don't have the power for this." What are you talking
about? Oh god, we were still backing things up off the computer onto tape.
Yeah, well, they still do that. So.
No, I meant like the big, the big giant tape, like from putting it on. What were they? The Digibeta, the big giant Digibeta.
Yeah. It's not like a bunch of old dinosaurs, and it was really only less than 20 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. So it wasn't like they do it now, where they just upload it to the cloud.
The what?
The cloud. It's optimized for AOL. Has been always.
That's right. I got my AOL account.
Oh God, I worked at a studio a long time ago. It was an Inferno studio, right? And the old Autodesk Inferno, they had one of those Silicon Graphics machines, those big the big purple server things that cost like $1 million.
Yeah.
But because whenever I started there, they had just switched over to like an HP tower, and so they could not even find anybody to come like just take the server for free, and like literally like 2 years before they invested like $1 million into this thing or something. And it was completely just a paperweight. It was really cool though. I wish I could find something to do. It'd been really cool to make like a refrigerator out of it or something. But
Yeah, there's a smart fridge that runs on some crazy version of Unix that you have to like type in to open your door. You're like, all right, I got to figure out these Unix commands to open the door.
I'd have that sucker full of Jurassic Park memes like within a day.
Dude, you know that interface in Jurassic Park was a real interface for a computer. You know, when she's diving through, I forget the name of it.
Like the 3D, like the crazy weird 3D thing where they're going through the Johnny Mnemonic style.
It was a real interface. I don't know if it was a Next computer or it was one of the Silicon graphic rooms, but yeah,
that's wild. It's no wonder that never took off,
dude.
Like, can you imagine? Wild. Can you imagine like you just sitting there and you're like, okay, my file name starts with like L _L, and then you like click it, and then it takes you like 10 minutes for the little graphic to like cruise down through all the stacks of
just
text.
A quick time event. You have to like, press X
man, just give me the fucking file. It's a that kind of stuff, man. I don't like, and somebody put a lot of love into that.
Dude,
you know what I mean? They were just like, you can search your files like this, and it's a big
just some nerd is just fucking just
whacked out on mushrooms or something.
Somebody came up with that
code for like 3 months straight.
Just nuts about it.
Hopped up on Adderall and Mountain Dew.
Whatever source code, wherever the source code is for that belongs buried with the ET video games for Atari, like out in the desert somewhere, wherever that was.
No, they had. Did you see that? There's like a little documentary series where they found
some of it, but there's still
some of it. Yeah. Oh yeah,
it's bizarre, man. What are we? It's crazy to think that like kind of what we do is so like. At what point was the split between those two things? I don't think it ever happened. I don't think it ever happened like on a timeline necessarily. I think they like borrowed from each other throughout the years. I mean, I was one of the people who mistakenly thought there was a lot of crossover until a few years ago when I opened up Unreal and I was like, I'm going to learn Unreal finally.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Boy, I mean, now I'm a little better with it, and I'm thankful for its existence. But damn, bro, I'm.
It's interesting too about Unreal is that I always hear that people coming into 3D, doing 3D stuff that have never done it, they really take to it really quickly, right? Because it is user friendly for someone who's never used 3D. But like me and Zach talked about this, but it's like for people who've done stuff in production, it's kind of a nightmare. Like as far as organizational stuff, it's just like holy crap, man.
So yeah, every like three out of every 5 things I do in Unreal, I feel like I'm breaking the fucking law. Like, having worked on pipelines for long enough and everything, like, and I'm fine working outside of the pipeline, but just like certain conventions and certain things, and maybe I just never got exposed to working on Unreal at like a big studio where they had everything nailed down or whatever, but just like opening up Unreal and using it as a seasoned visual effects artist, holy shit, man. I just feel like I'm breaking the law all the time. Like, oh God, I want to do this. And then there's tons of stuff in there that'll fuck you completely, just like lie in wait and fuck you out of the blue at any given moment. Oh, you didn't fix up all your redirectors and then move something. Oh, okay, time bomb set to 6 months. Just like, and things that will like just never like you just wouldn't think to do. It's not intuitive coming from, because you get so like working in regular DCCs, well, not regular DCCs, but working in familiar DCCs like Maya, Max, Cinema 4D, whatever, Houdini, all the big ones. Working in those, like there's different workflows in those, but the rules are kind of the same. Right, between packages, and the concepts are very similar. Whereas like in Unreal, it's just different, and you develop habits working on those other DCCs that are really bad habits to have for Unreal, and so it took a lot of like slapping my own hand to like stop doing things. And once I gave up, I treated like switching from Android to an Apple device. Like you just got to give up trying to control it and just do it the way that they designed it to work, and then you're okay. Don't fight.
Well, I say this too is because Josh is just now getting into some 3D stuff, and you've been doing Unreal stuff, and that's what kind of got me thinking about that too, because you were like, I love this. You love it, yeah. So
even without familiarity of the only other 3D I'd messed with is Blender, and even that's like pretty remedial stuff that I do in it.
Yeah.
But the workflow from that to that, as somebody was always a compositor and camera person more.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. Like even the way like setting up like dolly track and systems in Unreal was just super intuitive for again.
Because it does use on-set stuff too, right? You have like an actual dolly rig that you set up that it will glide across. Yeah, which I like too. I like that about that actually.
Yeah, there's some nice stuff like that. I mean, it depends on everything is so purpose driven in what we do, right? Like there's a purpose for every down to the shot that you're working on. Like let's just break it down to that. If you're at a shot level, your shot has a purpose, and that purpose is to say a sentence in a film and tell that sentence in the story, right? Like that's its purpose, and then all the other purposes trickle down from there. But it's funny, like doing that kind of stuff. I mentioned earlier, like you're either a cog in a machine, or it's here's this shot. You have no context. No, you don't get to see the shot that surrounds it unless you're maybe a compositor or like have access to the edit bay. But being like a 3D artist, you never see the subsequent shot or the shot that precedes it. And that always frustrated the living shit out of me in a place where I was like, responsible for making some creative decisions because I always preferred that kind of work. I loved it, but it was always frustrating that I never got to see it in context or see it in the edit and see it in the cut to be able to make some of those decisions in an educated way. And I was forced to rely on people above me who were making the decisions and not necessarily considering that. It felt like a lot of the time. I did have some really, really good supervisors and VFX soups throughout the years who I think kind of understood that and would play things in the cut in dailies so you could see it that way. But a lot of other times it was like, we're just going to watch this one shot over and over and over and over and over again.
Out of context. And then it doesn't make sense.
And then you're saying the word till it loses its meaning at that point with that, and I don't think I never found that personally to be a very helpful exercise. It became as Phil Tippett and John Van Vliet said, just a game of what's wrong with the shot, which, look, there's a time and place to run the gauntlet on your comps, but in the middle of the process is probably not it. And that's why those cats on Godzilla -1 were able to knock it out of the park. Cause I think they scrapped that entire part of the process. They said it, if it is what they say it is, and I believe that it is, I think that they were able to look at it, plan it out, and knock all the what if and games of telephone out of there and bang it out, man. And they got all the people out of the way that are just in the way, just for the sake of being.
God, there's so many people in the way.
Yeah, that was their whole thing too. They said that the VFX supervisor and the CG director, that they would just be there to figure the stuff out then and there. There was a direct line to the creative direction rather than having to go through, like you said, like 10 people to get it approved.
Yeah. And that's not to say that those people don't have their role and don't have their purpose. But I think what happens is you end up with this crazy, and I've experienced it so many times where I've felt like, man, we're being micromanaged when we have, if we could just get a direct line to somebody and people would stop trying to hoard all the data and hoard and control all the information flow so tightly, so close to their chest because they're insecure, for whatever reason, then, I think stuff could shots could run a lot smoother and run a lot better.
It's ridiculous how many levels of people you have in between you and the, that's what we're all creative problem solvers, right? We're all professional problem solvers at the end of the day. And it's like, taking that's why everybody worried about AI and this, that, and the others. Like, what AI can't take is what we have is taking those napkin sketch ideas, those storyboards, and turning those into something real that has some passion and that has some feeling to it and has some life to it, right? Like that's not something that they've gotten there yet with AI, but that's also.
But you
what's
won't be able to
hard-
make notes on that AI.
Yeah,
right?
you can't make notes on it. Like it's so difficult to kind of dial that in. That's where that human factor of interpretation. I don't understand why the interpretation from the artist to the idea has to be like 9 levels of Kevin Bacon or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. Well, and sometimes, man, in some situations, like I get it, and when you have somebody who's a director or a producer who doesn't understand the process, and those people can also be like they might be a good storyteller and they might understand the story that they're trying to tell, but they might not be good at interfacing with the artists one-on-one, right? Like, I mean, everybody's heard of the stories of Michael Bay or James Cameron, those kind of people just being maniacs, right? Like those are the stories. I encountered both those guys in my tenure, and they were fine.
Gentlemen.
James Cameron was kind of a crazy man, but the guy was a legit artist. Like I remember on Avatar, he would come and draw shit, and be like, show you like, hey, this is
right.
exactly what it needs to be.
And those guys, they know what they want, man. In my observation, the big problems that ever arose from personalities like that came from people on the visual effects side saying, "No, I know better." And digging in their heels and fighting. Like one of my favorite experiences ever was working on Joe Kosinski films.
Like Tron, right? You worked on Tron.
Tron, Tron, Oblivion. That dude was right there. He was in the screening room with us, man. Just a class act dude. Totally awesome. Never like he would say stuff. He would make notes. And he would defer when he was like, I'm not sure. Like, this doesn't look right to me, but you guys are the guys that know what makes stuff look right and what makes stuff look phony. So, like, I just don't.
That's not super rare, man. That's so rare.
And then we had a killer on both those shows, man. We had a killer VFX suit who would relay that back to the team, and he was the kind of guy that some people, he's a flavor that not everybody loved. I have nothing but love and respect for that guy, man. He was awesome, and it was just like those were such positive experiences and such high highs for me throughout the course of my career that it was just like, man, that's it. And it sucked too, because it's like, that's how it can be. Like it can be great. You can have those little, you kind of
chase that high, right?
Because it's like you're on that team for Godzilla -1 in those times, right? Where you're just like, I'm trusted. I'm doing a good job. I'm knocking it out of the park here. You're feeling it. It's going well. And then, man, there's when you're on a production and there's poor communication and poor management and everything's being kind of run just like haphazard. It's stressful. It's a nightmare. You get up and you're just like, then you're working 120-hour weeks and you're like, why is this my life choice?
Yeah.
Why have I done this? Like,
what did I do?
I was thinking about this whole this came up with me recently, actually, that whole like time suck thing. And I was trying to figure out what really bothered me about all this. It's not that I have to redo something. It's the fact that it was poorly planned and now it becomes my emergency because of their poor planning, right?
Yeah.
And like, I don't mind. I'll do my job all day. I'll redo what you need to do. I'll make it a fire breathing water dragon, whatever the heck you want. But like when it becomes an issue where now I'm sacrificing because you fucked up the planning and you don't know what you want, it's like that pisses me off. As a person who I'm a supervisor now too, and so whenever I plan stuff, I try to make sure I plan things out. But you don't get everything. But at the same time, it's just like that just pisses me off so much, man. And that happens.
And it's so hard as us artists to be able to push back and say no. It really is. I mean, there's times when we do, but like. The problem with that, the other side knows that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, and that's why they do it too, if I'm not mistaken, right? Like they're in a position a lot of the time where they're just like, I just need this thing. Like I'm getting pressure from some other side, and I just need this to get done. I don't have the time to walk somebody through it, so I'm just going to shove it through, knowing that they'll be mad, but they'll go on to the next thing. I'll just throw some t-shirts and pizza at them, and all will be well. And more often than not. It is, and it's fine. you know, the not to not to churn and burn old stuff, but I still remember all the people that, you know, on Life of Pi, sitting there and watching. It's a tough thing to say because I don't want to say something that's going to get people upset necessarily, but it's my personal take that the way all that stuff went down, and then giving Claudio Miranda the Oscar for cinematography on that film was bananas. That didn't make that.
Yeah,
being on the inside,
wild.
I was like, "What is going on here?
Yeah.
Is this a real?" Because I've never part of the Academy, nothing like that. I've never had those meetings, never talked to any of those people. And I'm just like, are these people that out of touch? Like, is that the thing? Is this like a legitimate, like, these guys are out of touch and they don't understand what happened behind the scenes? Or is this like, it felt so, you know, and I didn't work on Life of Pi, but I was just like, it felt so personal.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
At the end of the day, though, it was all phoned in votes, right? Like that's the problem. Nobody watched the movie.
that's
Well,
what
yeah,
I'm
I think a lot of those members are out of touch too. So.
Yeah, they're just out of touch. They don't actually watch the films. And I mean, who's going to sit there and watch, 17 films in a row, and then the 14th one was Life of Pi, and they're actually going to be able to give a, really good review. I mean, I just,
Right. Well, but then there's the part where Ang Lee, in his speech, had something to say about Rhythm and Hue's closing, and his statement was, it's something to the degree of, it's too bad we can't do it cheaper. And I was just like, there it is, man.
Yeah,
Again, this guy was part of it.
Yeah.
He was there. He like either he does not understand and was told that it's expensive, or he, you know what I mean? Like, or I don't know. I don't know what happened, but all of that was just like, whoa, the problem here is so much bigger. At that point, like that was my kind of aha moment where I was like, man, this is so much more messy than it ever seemed before. Like, the problem is much more complex than
than you ever thought. Yeah,
feeling us against them is kind of always how it felt, and how it got relayed to, my hands are tied. I'm doing what they're giving us this ultimatum, was what I heard from every producer throughout the years. And it's kind of like that pits the artists against the people up the chain, which I don't think is fair, but it's also unrealistic, and it's not exactly what's happening. You know what I mean? I think a lot of people are pressing themselves in to be middlemen and kind of like taking their pound of flesh throughout the process and fucking it up for everybody.
Yeah.
I could be very wrong, and I would.
Well, it is. I mean, if you want to ever use the word systemic, it is a systemic problem, right?
Right.
As far as like it goes, like our industry is a fucking mess, man. It's so retarded, dude. It's one of the craziest.
Yeah, well, it's just like a used car industry, right? They're always trying to shave the corners, right? Like change roll back the speedo, things like that. It's
yeah.
It could be. They always want to do it for cheaper, faster.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Well, hell, I got a nephew that does this stuff out of his garage.
Yeah, he does After Effects. I don't know if you've seen this stuff, but he does a pretty good job. All right, then go hire your nephew. Let's see how. Then you'll come back to me in 6 weeks, and I'll be charging you triple.
Give me his shots. I'm glad to fix them.
Yeah,
I wish, like what you're saying too is like do it cheaper, faster, and I mean there is kind of a way to do that, and it's. You have storyboards, you plan it out, and it's not like you're discounting the service or the product. It's like at that point you're making it easier to do. Like you shot it with intention with a final shot in mind. Like when you do those kind of things, the amount you can get done with like not as much of that runaround.
Well, now with Unreal, they'll be able to edit the movie first.
Well, so get this. They did you hear about what they did for Dune 2? Is it Greg Fraser, the DP on that? He used Unreal to figure out where the sun would be for some of these comps they were doing. So yeah, man, it's really cool. So like some of these tools, I feel like and Greg Fraser was a part of that team that did The Creator as well, which I know ILM did a shitload of VFX for it to make it punch above what its price tag was, because that movie was cheap for what they accomplished. But
Yeah.
I think they got a sweetheart deal from ILM.
Mhm.
But like, if these approaches are becoming interesting, like I think there's
I did 4 shots on that, just 4. But
Hey.
Oh, nice, that's cool. Well,
You've
I
worked
think-
on everything, Brian. So.
Yeah, that's true.
Nice.
But I don't know. I think there's a future where like filmmakers working more directly with the VFX people, and maybe it is things that are kind of like outside of a traditional studio sort of environment, especially with all the turmoil going on. Like, who knows? Maybe another strike coming up and all that stuff. Like,
well, apparently they're on the tentative agreement, so we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard whispers and stuff from Netflix that they want to go with a lot smaller studios just to get that tailored customer experience.
yeah,
To that, but also it's
Ooh,
kind of like
buzzwords.
it's kind of a mess of their making, right? Because
yeah.
they know they messed up by creating this system in a way sometimes to, like you said, Zach, to it's just kind of systemic and weird. So so now they're trying to backtrack, which is good. They've seen the problem, they want to improve it, and maybe go with smaller, send it out to smaller studios, get lower cost and a better experience, like a more like connected experience to the product being made, and maybe to work out. I don't know, who knows.
Yeah, there's a lot of, I don't know, man. In the last year or so, I've had a bunch of jobs that were kind of like Netflix centric. That have, I can't really say too much about it, but it's I saw when I was
Don't bite
doing
the
the
hand, sir. Don't bite the hand.
exactly. Well, when I saw those jobs, I'll say it this way: when I saw those jobs coming through, which weren't jobs that came directly to me, right? Like I was hired out to work on them. But when I saw them coming through, I wondered if, I think there's a change coming to Netflix. Like once all this stuff tumbles through the pipes and the investors see what's going on, it's not. I'm curious if this is just sustainable for what they're doing. I'll say that.
Yeah.
Well, it's an ebb and flow to everything, right? Like we're
Certainly.
definitely in a low point of it, and there will be another way, reason, or whatever to escalate it into a different direction. Once they get it all figured out, they always figure it out, right? Like, we didn't know they're in the last strike, and all of a sudden they came up with Survivor. We had Pandemic hit. All of a sudden we had Tiger King. I mean, like we always have a savior.
Right, to some degree. Well, I mean, the thing
I think
is,
this time's different though.
the industry. This is definitely an
Yeah,
unprecedented.
but people are still going to crave
one that's going
entertainment.
now.
We're still going to have to help.
Yeah,
create
no,
entertainment, period,
yeah,
right?
It's true.
Like,
It's true. I think we're gonna see this surge of AI generated stuff. I mean, there was a push. A lot of brands are saying now for advertising firms that they don't want any AI generated content. And I'm curious to know what that's a tricky one, because like to what degree are they going to control that, and to what degree does that go down through the pipe, right? Like if you're going to, like, let's say that you're going to mandate that, well, then the artists working on your production aren't allowed to use Chat GPT to write for loops if they don't know how to code, or build larger scripts using Chat GPT, or for that matter, if they're using Nuke and they're doing Paintout or Roto stuff and using some of the AI tools in there, or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, at what point does it get cut off? Obviously, on the face of it, they're talking about, we don't want AI like generative content driving our commercials because all the hands are weird and it's freaky and nightmarish.
I love the ones where they're all grabbing each other's arms. They're so good.
It was the best meme I saw this year was everybody's saying that AI is going to take everybody's jobs, and here's a picture of AI accepting the deal, and it's like 6 pictures of all sorts of goofy hands grabbing
That was so good.
grabbing everything.
Yeah, I'm not really. Look, man, I embrace AI, right? Like, just so to be fully transparent, our logo was created by AI, or our description for YouTube was created by ChatGPT. We're fully used some Photoshop extend tools and AI, some AI generative tools there, like to get some stuff, and like it's fantastic, man. I love it. I embrace it. It's even though it's difficult to get, it's really easy to get 90% somewhere, and then you have to have that little bit of a hand movement to kind of get it where it needs to be. But hey,
Yeah.
look, it gets me 90% there a lot faster than I would have before.
The generative AI stuff is.
I still got to know what I'm looking for, right? I still got to know what I want.
It's a fantastic tool for exploration of concepts.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't even think it's going to put concept artists out of business. Like there's people. Look, here's the problem. There's a lot of people out there who are in high up positions who see it and they just see dollar signs and say, "We're going to cut our workforce down to to an eighth of what it is currently." No, you're not. If anything, you're going to add more people when this.
What are you just going to have like one guy named Carl that knows AI?
Yeah, you're not going to simplify this like in these machine learning. The way it all works, like it is not. It's a fantastic tool set that allows people who understand what the purpose of what they're trying to do. It allows them to get towards the part where they craft visually the sentence that they're trying to say, and they spend more time on that instead of sitting there and noodling all the technical crap that bores us all as creative people to death.
Yeah.
Not to say that that all that stuff has its place and it's an art form in and of itself, but man, what you're doing currently is asking creative people who can't even form sentences eloquently because they draw pictures instead to also play the role of the master of the chess team. They're just, you don't get a lot of intersection in those two areas with people and personalities. It's unrealistic what we're doing right now.
Yeah,
I mean, somebody had called it at least like generative image AI. This person was a matte painter. I won't name him necessarily, but I think you guys know him. And he had said we were kind of like having like a late night, sort of like just talking shit, working on our respective projects and stuff. And he's like, I've used it to make to steal images to make some of my matte paintings, but I view it as an infinite search engine.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what it is. It's a super Google search engine that you can ask for images that don't necessarily exist.
Mm-hmm.
But I would never feel like I created anything that came out of it. However, if I asked it for an image, took that image, crafted it to something beyond that, or mixed it into something I made, it would be the same as if I searched an image on Google.
Hey, you only got to change it 30% for copyright laws.
In a matte painting or something, right?
Right.
It's cool for that. And I think looking at it that way, it really helped me kind of embrace it. But I would never just type a prompt, get an image, and then without doing any kind of in painting or something, present
shoot from the
it.
hip, right?
I made this. I think that is dishonest.
Fair.
But to take it and do something with it, I think is.
Hey,
why
and
not?
I invite anybody that feels like they need to do that to further their career to go right ahead, because I'd like to weed yourself.
Yeah.
You go ahead, weed yourself out. Just
Yeah.
go right ahead. And
Yeah,
do
you
that,
get
'cause,
you pulling that shit in production, man. You getting caught between the hammer and the anvil sooner than later.
Yeah.
We're gonna
It'd be
find
like
you and sniff you out. You'd be,
It's almost like claiming you made the color red.
I met a guy that actually did that. Yeah.
I use red in a painting, but I didn't make red. It's, I don't know. Maybe that's a silly way to look at it, but I think looking at it as an element of the process is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's another. I mean, people say it all the time, and it's becoming like just a trope. But it's another tool in the toolbox. And if you, I've seen. With that being said, I mean, since the advent of all the generative AI, I saw a lot of. I was getting fatigue in all the concepts that I was seeing because all the studios hire like the same 5 or 6 people to do concepts, and so all the concepts for every movie look the same. Like the art direction for everything looks the same. It looks the same. It looks the same, and it's great. Those people are talented people, but they are also, they're searching in their own rights for new and fresh material, and all of a sudden, man, like on the Mid-Journey Facebook page, and it's just this explosion of crazy fresh ideas, like a fresh twist on all the Star Wars characters, fresh twist on He-Man characters, every last silly, stupid nostalgia drip thing you could think of, and then some other wild stuff that is just all entirely different. And so I was really excited when I saw that stuff happening, because I was like, man, this is great. Not because people are using this to make new concepts, but because these new concepts that people see are going to open up their minds to new ideas and see other see other horizons that they never saw before.
I think the Photoshop AI generative stuff's hilarious, actually.
Yeah.
Like when it actually comes up with sometimes when you prompt something and it comes up with something wrong, but I think it's fantastic, actually.
Yeah.
And then when you reprompt that same thing and then reprompt it like 2 or 3 times, it comes up with just some bizarre things.
Beyond cleaning up stuff and removing like some power lines and stuff here and there, I've found it to be pretty worthless.
Yeah, for cleaning up though, it's.
But for like, hey, I need to remove this tree, or like just extend the sky down to here, like done deal.
Yeah.
And it gives you options. Like it automatically does some in painting, which I kind of wish there was a toggle. Like, do you want 3 versions, or I feel like it's wasting CPUs.
Yeah, you don't always need it. Sometimes you just shoot from the hip. I guess it depends on what you're doing.
Yeah.
Well, I think we should probably wrap it up. There it is. Oh, there it is. I hear that.
Hey, it is kind of the end of the show, isn't it? I think we want to try to keep it.
We'll keep
it around here.
Yeah.
We got to remember to give a shout out to our sponsor, the Duke Codex, Mr. Dan Smith. I think I saw him watching it on the chat earlier. But hold it upside down, like this is the presidential way to hold a Bible, I believe. I'm not real sure. Anyway, go check it out. There's his website there. If you want to learn Nuke, go check out Dan's work. We'll get better at this, Dan. Sorry, it was a pretty shitty read, but go check his stuff out. He's our man. He gives us millions of dollars. I wish I'd have done a lot better at that.
Bought this butcher block.
Yeah, like it was such a nominal investment on his behalf, and it's just I hate to let him down. So I'll do a lot better next time. But I got to also tell everybody, make sure if you want to contact any of us, especially if you need to fuss at Zach, podcast at deepfriedpixels.com. Hit us up there. Josh, you going to join us again next week?
Yeah, I'd love to.
That's cool.
Well, you know what? I may not. I may be on a shoot that might go a little late, but if I'm off in time, I'll be here.
Sweet. Yeah, definitely. We'll maybe we'll have we'll try and get some other guests on here next time, and maybe we'll try and do this again. I don't know. Maybe we get banned. I'm not real sure how this stuff works.
Yeah,
again, I'm not even real sure it made it onto YouTube.
Well,
if
it's
it did,
age restricted, so it's not on. It's not gonna be findable for the mass audiences. But
I can't have my child find it. I don't need him seeing me in that light. I'm not real sure what light that is. So hopefully we're here next week, guys.
For the few people that were listening and watching, thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Tanner.
For fun. Yeah. Thanks, Natasha, my wife.
And for everybody else, get yourself a pocket of the U.S. Constitution.
God darn it, you gotta do it.
Steve, how dare you to make it past page 6?